good night, and welcome to the conversation. I'm your host, Alistair Sampson, and we have joined with us Christopher Crossley, aka Mr. Crossley, sir. And also we have Micaiah Wilson, aka Mike the Trainer. How are you all going tonight?
Good, man.
Yes.
Good.
Good,
Very
good,
good,
good.
very good.
Yeah, we just drop it. We just drop it. So right now, Chris is right now in your court here. They check in as normal. Oh,
Well, all right. Good evening, all. Thank you for joining us once again. Same bad time, same bad channel here on the conversation with the Mantle Movement. And this evening we're discussing what it is progressing through a pandemic, right?
yes.
So let's talk about how we've progressed for the last week, gents. How has it been for you all since last week?
Huh. Good night, and welcome to the conversation. Let me see. Well, how should I put it, boy? Yeah, it actually has been a week. What happened? Stepped into doing a particular venture in collaboration with my wife and her business, and we never collaborated like this before on our two separate businesses to try to push something together, and it is a learning experience. It's fun.
Right?
We actually learn a bit from each other with respect to it as well too. I learn a good bit about her business. She learned a bit about mine as well too, in terms of the parts and everything that happens behind the scene with respect to it. And we were actually able to pull off some stuff Saturday gone, and it's actually working out pretty well. It's supposed to run for the rest of June, maybe going into the first week of July. And
Right.
yeah, it pretty good, man. Pretty good. It's trying to do some online stuff with people, and it's actually connecting out pretty well. It is plenty. You realize now that things are there are trying times that are going on right now. And however we could serve others in terms of doing it is going to be really important this round. So
Sure.
that's how it is right
Agreed.
now. Yeah.
Very good. Mike, how things for you since?
Um, to be honest, like I always say, I don't like to complain, but I
Right.
mean, the lockdown as well as the pandemic overall has, like Alice said, it has done a lot to everyone in different ways,
Right.
emotionally, physically, mentally, business wise, financially, that kind of thing. So taking all that in consideration, I'm always grateful for the fact that I'm still all able to work, still able to do what I need to do, still able to progress, and still able to, get different things moving during this time, because it is difficult for a lot of people. But I appreciate the ability I have to do what I do, and I think it like this last week has been a really jam-packed week, but it's for a good reason. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, that's good. On my end, I mean, as always, things are progressive and has been progressing. I'm still going through my challenge of reading a book a week, and somebody actually asked me why I'm doing it, and I said it's not about just reading the book, but it's about developing a new level of discipline when it comes to you know time management and actually being able to focus on doing something, right? So we're trying to actually build in that habit. It is not it has not been easy
Hmm.
um, because of life is still happening, work still has to go on, business and whatnot, distractions, etc. But so far I've been on point doing the book a
Hmm.
week. Um, but yeah, it hasn't been any change for me. Just still a constant uh, weekly um, self check, right? Looking at things that can continue to improve because, as we know, this thing isn't going away anytime soon. So we do still need to work on developing ourselves continuously, all right? So which I think is the best way to actually start this conversation tonight, where we're discussing progressing through a pandemic. So, Mike, I'll let you lead off on your thoughts on that and topic for tonight.
Okay. Well, first of all, to kind of remember what all of us have said so far in terms of progress even in these times and different things we could do for ourselves to progress. I think it's important for us. I mean, us, I mean us as society, us as Trinidadians, us as a people to begin to view things a bit differently now, right? It's a time where people have been focusing so much on the fear logic, meaning the fear of the virus, the fear of economic crashes, the fear of the vaccine, the fear of there's so many different things that we center our fears around that has stunted people's growth. It has stopped progress as well. So you want to create a focus shift a bit on basically setting out some guidelines as well as speaking about the progress that can occur within a pandemic,
Right.
right? And the progress not just for a business owner, but for a student, for a family, for there's a lot of things that can be happening right now that people are unaware of because their focus is on the fear logic, right?
Yep.
I'm positive if we here think about it, when last have we seen any major positive event being broadcasted on the news or any social media platform or these kind of things? They have you guys seen anything, for example, on the news that has been progressive in nature or even positive in nature?
Right. Well, I follow, well, not in the news. I follow a specific profile, World Economic Forum, and they usually show us the new types of technologies that have been coming out to help with food security, with water, with converting plastic waste, these type of things, which to me would be the positive things that are still happening even while that is going on. However, it is not mainstream media.
Yeah.
That is a specific channel and profile that I actually go to and get those highlights. And if anybody follows me on Instagram, you'll see I actually share them ever so often through my IG stories when I see them. So that is the thing for me. So it's coming back to what are we plugged into. But like I said, it's really not mainstream, but that is what I have seen.
What about you all?
Honestly, when you look at the, as you rightfully say, the mainstream media will talk about COVID. You know, you talk about the deaths, the spike in the numbers, people getting it. You're also getting a lot of items coming on the mainstream media, well, especially social media, about anti-vaccination, the conspiracy theories with respect to vaccination. Now, again, I'm not here to say for or against vaccination, don't get me wrong, especially for our persons listening out there. But, I mean, you realize what is dominating the airways right now. A lot of times, it doesn't matter the news coming out right. It's about the news that comes out first. And a lot of times people just focus on who gets it first. It doesn't matter the truth behind it. Their safety net as well. I'll put a retraction after if that is the case, and all these things like that. So it is really unfortunate that is what's going on. So I mean, personally for me, I will find myself channeling my mental energy more to listen to more podcasts, specific items to kind of keep my brain in that particular space. Because honestly, if I were to stay in the mainstream media and the social media in terms of what's happening there, I'll be questioning if it's oxygen I'm breathing and if I'm plugged into the matrix and if the sun really there and if it's not some spy camera watching over my house and all this kind of craziness that's going on right now. So it's really what and where you are plugged into mainly will dictate the behaviors and stuff.
Now, the funny thing is that we've been overwhelmed with so much information about the virus, about the pandemic, about vaccines, about economic crashes, and these different things. It puts the general population in that state of panic, where we rush for vaccines, where you rush for different things, we overpurchase. There's a lot of different triggers that happen there. However, there's a lot of things happening that we don't see. That will also be dictating post-pandemic era. Right? And I think that's something that people are not really thinking about much, the post-pandemic era. Even within the pandemic now, there's a particular sweet spot that we are in right now that people can take advantage of. So if you look back in time a little bit, right? In the First World War, the Second World War, sorry, that was the catalyst for the creation of the modern day jet planes and jet engines and stuff. Right? That's where rockets were created and the first massive computers were used to break codes. It was a place, a time where there wasn't devastation, but there was progress in technology. There was progress in innovation. There were women who were not formally allowed in certain types of activity. They were then allowed to get in because they needed people.
Correct.
Right? So what was a bad thing led to progress in certain things. Right? If you look at 2008, I believe, when they had the economic, when they saw the big economic crash.
Yeah, the real estate.
There were companies that grew. Right? There were people that would have been able to invest spontaneously and they got different benefits. There were things that were developed within that period of time. For example, cloud computing became a big craze at that point in time because companies invested. Right? And let's turn to modern day pandemic. Zoom was previously like used once in a while by most people. Now Zoom's Zoom is now. Zoom's profits have skyrocketed beyond anything they've made in the last 5 years.
Which I told people, I just like to say that. I told people, all right, you have money, buy stocks in Zoom. I don't know this.
Yeah. So it is amazing to see that these things happen. Now, I want to point out a couple things that are happening right now that I think people aren't even aware of. It's happening. Right? In the financial world, they refer to pandemics and economic, like world changes like this, as the merger and acquisition period, where companies are bought, companies are merged, and things are done behind the scenes to make companies stay afloat or to make other companies become more wealthy or more prosperous.
Correct.
Right? In addition to that, it's important for us to realize that, yes, some of us who are on the call today will be business owners. Some of us may not be business owners. But if you look at it from the perspective of a CEO of one of these major companies and what they do in a time of pandemic to keep progressing, we can take some lessons from that to keep progressing ourselves. Right? Because the number one thing I've realized is that most large companies see a pandemic or a world stress situation as a time to find some new opportunities.
Yeah.
Of course.
Whereas the average person sees it as a time to
running a hole and hide. Yeah.
Running a hole and hide. So what we kind of touch on today is also like what we can do as the average person, as a business owner, as a father, as a mother, as a student, whatever else, to use these techniques to progress in a pandemic. You understand? And not face the regular stresses that people are currently facing, because there are people right now getting sick, not off of COVID, but off of stress.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So if I have to point out some little points, and we could dive into these points too. Number one, new opportunities. A pandemic is a time that presents new opportunities for everybody, not just for large companies. Now it has to be said as well that sadly, in times of pandemic like this, we begin to see the inequality in society. When it comes to finances, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to opportunities, we begin to see the differences. So, for example, parents who can afford tablets and stuff for their kids to do online schooling, we begin to see the effects of a pandemic. However, there are things that can be done within the pandemic to still create progress. Right? So, first thing we're going to talk about is opportunities. Right? I mean, you guys are both entrepreneurs as well. And I believe that now is a time where we've all seen new opportunities in the last 2 years, in the last year and a half, as you say.
Yeah.
Right? If you have to point to one major opportunity you've seen available, not necessarily for you, but that can be done in society right now by either a business owner or average person, what would one thing that you see as an opportunity be?
You want to go first, or you're good? All right. So one thing for me, and I think anybody could have capitalized on. Any business that deals with food security, and by food security I mean, well, looking at agriculture, all right, and it doesn't have to be you growing crops to sell, all right, because crops takes time to grow. Whether you do short-term crops, 3 months, 6 months, you get a turnover, or long-term, it take over a year to 2 years for the whatever produce to grow, right? You could actually do supplies, because everybody is getting into home gardening, looking to have that kitchen garden. So you could be selling the pots, the seeds, the mulch, or whatever it is for the soil. There's little things that you can do to tap into anything to do with food security. Those who like the whole thing with hydroponics, aquaponics, things that could actually help you grow food a certain way, whether it's quicker, more efficiently, things like that. So it doesn't have to be you selling the food, but the produce, but you actually selling the system to help people get into it. That is because a lot of people switched into that, because most people were concerned with what we'll have on the shelves in the supermarkets if things go low. And then you want to start to eat healthier now, because we realize with the pandemic, your health is actually one of the main things that will help you survive it. So a lot of people move to cleaner eating and stuff like that. So yeah, I see the agribusiness or food security being one major opportunity that a lot of people could tap into.
As you were saying that as well, too, what just came to mind too. I don't know if people remembered, or I mean, it feels so long ago, but do you remember where persons have these yellow minibuses with respect to transportation for students, and they realize that has been locked off now, so they don't have that as a way of doing it. There are persons who actually own these vehicles 5 and 6, and they can't really transport people in it anymore. But right now, there are groceries that are out there that need people to be transporting these type of goods and services to people right now. If a person really did that type of delivery system for person and take that initiative in terms of those same 12-seaters or whatever the case may be, and be able to do that, we can have some persons who don't even want to leave their house. All right, then they need to get goods. They don't want to leave the house. They may make the order, whatever the case may be, but they don't want to leave the house to get these services. Some groceries may be able to do the shuttling and everything, but you have a number of the other groceries that don't have that. If it is that you have this vehicle, you could actually render your service to that, either that grocery, or you could say within your community, okay, here, this is what me and my vehicle will do for you. These are the times, have it stuff set up, a feed pass, whatever the case may be, and it can actually benefit persons who have these vehicles that resting down right now could actually benefit from it as well too. Just a thought for persons who are unable to transport children right now, because I mean, if it is that this was their only means of income, that means they've been closed off for a year plus. So it's just something to think about.
Yeah,
definitely. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, people looking on a larger scale, for those that that have any sort of IT skills in terms of whether it's web design, whether it's graphic design, stuff like that, because there's so much digital transformation going on right now, there are people looking for people with skills who could help them with anything that will help put their businesses online. So your business could be that, helping people move or do the digital transformation of their businesses to one that they can now access online. So you will see that there are some places like Naughty Grape, all right, that sells whether it's wine or alcohol or whatnot. They actually created a very nice web store, and you can actually virtually walk around the store online and stuff like that. So and shop and get delivery. So a lot of companies, a lot of businesses that were once just brick and mortar, because of the pandemic, that digital transformation happened. So people with those IT skills, that is something you could actually look into as well. That I mean, it's not really outside your scope. So yeah, but of course, not everybody will have those skills. So yeah.
Like the interesting thing is that the major point is food, right? And that's my major point as well. The funny thing is that we just before the pandemic happened, my wife and I got a chance to sit down with investor and a financial advisor, and he began telling us that he was currently selling out his assets to have liquid cash. And this is before the pandemic. And we were kind of like, okay, why you want to sell these properties and that kind of thing? And he said that the country's current state, when it comes to its debt and when it comes to its financial state, especially when it comes to the energy sector, it's horrible. He's saying what he's forecasting and seeing is that if you have liquid cash, that is king.
Yep.
Because there's going to be a process or a period of time where you can acquire things and invest in things with liquid cash and that kind of thing. And when I began looking into that, I began realizing that our country for so long has invested into the energy sector and ignored the agricultural sector. Yes, we've done some investment there, but there was so much more that could have been done in that area that wasn't happening before.
Correct.
But if we look at this now, due to the pandemic, we've been shot ahead probably like 2-3 years in terms of developing the agricultural sector.
Yeah, you're right.
Right?
Yeah.
People are realizing that like we are ahead of where we were going to be before, because it caused a shift. It caused a shift not only in the government's view but also the view of the people. Right? I mean, all of us here can attest to the fact that do you need oil boom and thing? We will happy Chinese.
Money is not a problem.
It's
Very
nothing
much
was
so.
nothing. But now we have to consider different options, and the easiest option is that if we look at it, Trinidad imports so much stuff that we shouldn't be importing.
Correct.
And the average person has access to so many other people who do planting, who do there's a company called Rams Logistics. They did a drive recently where they're encouraging farmers.
Yeah.
They are working with farmers to buy their goods. Farmers who were not able to be selling goods anymore because they had nobody to purchase from them anymore. They were buying their goods to sell at a lower price to at-risk families and low-income communities and stuff. That was amazing, right? And these are bigger companies investing, yes, but there are farmers who probably didn't realize that they had opportunities like that.
Sure.
And I mean, my parents are totally sold into the at-home farming.
Yeah.
They totally eat what they create, right? And it's like I got passion fruit from them yesterday, okras and pumpkin, and I'm like, all right, I don't go in the market really. I mean, I gotta go still, but there are items that I don't have to
You
get.
thought about it? Yeah, correct.
And
Correct, is right.
I was advising a family recently that they have yard space, but both breadwinners in the family are no longer employed. My suggestion to them was, you have other people in your community that are currently farming. You guys can do a barter system for what you plant.
Right.
Right? If you choose 3 crops, they have other crops. Just barter it off after. You know, share it around, that kind of thing, because that's how we used to be back in the day. But it's going to carry us to a place where people are going to be self-sufficient to the point where they can then create business out of these things.
Right.
And I think that idea that you all have with the school bus drivers, that is amazing. Because there are a lot of them who are either trying to work on the road or whatever else and not working at all.
Yeah.
And that's a very big avenue. That's a really big avenue for them to get some serious income coming back in.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because
Because I'm not gonna say where are all the drivers that would work the airport. You know?
yeah,
And the
that is
hotels,
a
all the
big-
drivers for the airport and the hotels, yeah, they have literally no business.
Yeah.
So, you know, I actually would wonder what they were doing all this time.
Yeah, I mean, if it is, I mean, you can't work the airport right now, so it may have to be like a Uber type thing that they may have to do now for transportation for people, where persons want to be transported, say from point A to point B, if it's by themselves and have the vehicle exclusive. People wouldn't mind paying for that. Honestly, some people wouldn't mind paying for that. So if it is that they could consolidate that and have that type of transportation, that type of Uber type system, and you know the rating and whatever credit card payment they could do that can also work as well.
Yep. Correct.
Well,
But it does take, that's not a question, Mike, but it does
That's
take
right.
a certain level of preparation. And I know for a fact that a lot of people weren't prepared. Because I know that same barter system, a couple of people are doing it. But if it is you were caught unawares, for instance, you mentioned that couple that both are not working. to actually start now to be able to have crops mature that they could barter, still going to
Yeah.
take at least 3 months, you
Yeah.
know, according to which crop they grow.
Which crop they grow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. So we had actually hoped that people would have had what is savings, emergency savings, something to have that buffer while they put things in place to progress. Because that is the next thing that a lot of people would say, you know, not an excuse because this is real life. It's like, hey, I literally wasn't prepared.
Yeah.
Nobody expected COVID, right? I literally wasn't prepared. I lost my job because of it. And I am now struggling to find a way to try to get this gear going again. So people like that, I always say tap into whatever hobby that you have at present. I don't care if it's sewing curtain, bed sheet, if it's some whatever hobby that you have, find a way to monetize that. If it means that will give you a little cash flow, so you can actually be so you can get to where you want to go in some form. Because a lot of people will wonder, what, how much job again? What will I do? Not like I go back to school now and learn a degree overnight. You can't plug money in like the Matrix and I just know, right? So
Yeah.
I always say look for what is something that you do. If you're good at accounting, put that out there one time that you could probably help people with their taxes, do their company balance sheets or whatever you need. If it is you already have a car, you can probably try to work courier service for people. Like I said, if you could sew, if you could cook, well, we understand that the cooking situation now with catering and stuff, they don't want people doing that on the roads, right? But before that happened, I saw a lot of people started to cook and was selling food. You know, people opened little small snackets like immediately and started selling. So people still had to find a way to generate that income. So look at the hobbies that you have and see if you can, not only hobbies, look at the skills that you have as well and see what you can monetize.
Yeah. No, it's interesting that you went in that direction, because that was going to be my first CEO tip for both business owners, CEOs, average person, whatever else. And when I say average person, and I mean say that to make anybody seem belittled, but I mean average in the sense of you're not self-employed, you have a current job, you would have lost a job, or you get a decrease in salary, whatever else, right? One of the major things that big companies do is that within a pandemic or before the pandemic, they normally do something where they would give a sense of direction, we're going here, but there's always a plan for the unexpected.
Correct.
Right? We are forecasting to be here, but in the event that anything changes, this is what we're going to do. A lot of people never went through life with a plan B. They never went through life with a nest egg or a safety net or anything. They were simply just going.
Live it, yeah.
And that should be our first lesson when it comes to progressing. We need to always make sure that we plan with direction, with a sense of direction, but still be ready for the unexpected.
Correct.
Still set up a system, right? And I think for most people, they if we take speaking locally here first in Trinidad, we have a nothing really happens severely in Trinidad. The God is a Trini, right? We never really touched. So we have a mentality where, for the most part, we have a mentality where we'll be alright.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna be good, man. We're gonna be good. We're gonna play out. That'll be good. But there's no true planning behind the scenes, right? And I always remember when I was in primary school, mom used to tell me, don't be like with them fellas and them, because when they go home, they're studying the work, they know the work, Don't let them lead you down the road and thing, and you thinking and doing whatever. And then when results come out, they making 90 something, 80 something, and you making 50 something.
Correct.
And I began realizing that when I was there playing the fool, these fellas were lessons on the evening. So what I was missing, them was doing.
Correct.
You know, and I realized a while after that they had a plan that would have allowed them to ease up the way that they ease up. They had a plan that would have given them the benefit of saying, well, yeah, I can relax a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that plan. So, like in secondary school, I was playing integral football and everything, happy as a lamb, right? And then when my mommy had CXC time, she said, football stop. And I was like, oh? She said, yeah, because you can't seem to balance it too.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, if I had put in the work to prepare myself and have a plan behind the scenes for a steady studying plan, for example, I'd have been able to play football all the way to CXC. But I never set up a plan. So there are people now who will suffer, sadly, because of the fact that, like I said, Chris, they wasn't prepared.
Correct.
And I'm not saying that you're putting aside $1 million, You're talking about little things. Little things. I'm positively sure there are people working for years that don't have a savings.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
They're working for years and there's no plan for where the money goes or how the money flows and nothing.
And they'll ask you how they're doing it because when you're working for so much, how are saving? X, Y, and Z.
Exactly.
Trust me.
Yeah.
If you want to find a way, you find a way. The same way people save to buy all kind of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all right, that's your prerogative. Then don't tell yourself you can't when stuff actually happens.
Yeah.
All right, 'cause I've seen people save money for Carnival, right?
Mm-hmm.
Loss. I've seen people save money to buy certain things for Christmas, and who wants special sneakers, and come on, people do that. So you can't tell me you can't save.
Exactly.
You tell me you can't save. You just find a way when you want what you want. People just make priority the things that are important to them, and that just wasn't a priority. Until now, things are where they are, and you're wondering, oh shucks.
That is so true.
Yep.
And for just a quick plug in here, for those who may be looking at this on YouTube, if you check right above in terms of the suggestion, you'll actually have one of our videos that we had where we talk about managing your money and how effective ways of how to be able to save. So you could go ahead and click on that video when you get the opportunity. All right, cool. Yeah, just say I'm putting that plug in there one time.
Nice one. So the second thing, which again we kind of touched on already, is that companies would normally do something called reframing, which is where they will look at a situation, look at their capabilities, and then reframe what they currently do to fit what is currently happening. For example, we saw when the pandemic first hit, there were clothing designers who would design costumes for Tribe that were making masks.
Yeah.
Right? Seamstress, everybody dived into the mask making business, and then you had people that were performers, for example, that were now offering vocal training online.
Correct.
Right?
But
It's about reframing, meaning taking the same what I can currently do and fit it into what's currently happening. Right? Just like I said, Chris, people need to look at their abilities and we work it to see what they can do. If you had a storefront before, for example, there's a friend of mine, and it's a good suggestion for those who are involved either in selling clothing or whatnot. She had a clothing store, and what she does now is she does an online course when it comes to self-image and these different things.
Right.
When it comes to personal, right, and when it comes to purchasing, fit into this, fit into the occasion, and people paying for the course, people jumping in, people taking advice, her social media page growing, and now she's getting international clients again. And I'm saying to myself, she just sell clothes, like from a storefront.
Right, and not everywhere closed, people not going anywhere, but they still want to learn that though.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I was like, when they learn to do this, where do I use it? But
this is after.
Yeah.
After.
Yeah.
People need to stop just thinking about, okay, the pandemic currently happening, it will come to an end. We have to understand that it will come to an end. There will be a post-pandemic boom.
Yes.
And if you're not prepared for that, it's going to pass you by. So, if we look at reframing, guys, I know we kind of touched on it a little bit already, but for you personally, have you had to reframe any of your current skills or what you currently do within your business, within your life, to fit the pandemic?
Right. So for us, when the pandemic hit, of course, with what I do with travel, um, of course, all borders were closed. Nobody was traveling, right? There was nobody traveling. So, but what was still moving is cargo. So people that are still, I mean, countries still need food, textiles, stuff for construction, whatever. So we switched from actually transferring people, right, to cargo services. Same industry, but instead of people flying, fly products, right?
Right.
So it was a very simple pivot. It was a I want to say I saying simple as it is, but still in the same industry. However, you will actually find now because it wasn't what we used to do, there was a lot of nuances and stuff that we actually had to now learn, right? But that comes with the territory. It didn't mean that we just say, oh shucks, well, no clients, so we shut down until COVID finished. No. If products still moving, people still need planes. And a lot of people didn't know that most times a lot of stuff that companies import actually comes in the belly of commercial aircrafts. Right? So when you think they do have space for your bags, right? It's because good. Now, so a lot of those commercial planes actually got converted into cargo planes. And that's how product was moving. So we actually pivoted right there and then without much without having to redo or recreate anything completely brand new. So that literally worked for us.
What about you, Al?
Well, in terms of the job element of it itself, well, that switched to work from home. In terms of the business, that had to take a transformation as well too. Originally, the business was more of a training center for face-to-face training with persons and everything like that. But we had to make a bit of a pivot and actually do it totally online itself. So the market had changed a bit. So we also had to look at different skills that people wanted to know during this particular time. And even the pricing of it had to change a bit as well, because originally you would have had it a particular way because, hey, you have face-to-face time with persons, you're paying rent for a particular place, equipment, these things like that. So your cost would have been a particular way and your quantity would have been a particular way based on your limited space. But because you had to do it online now, that had to change. So your software that you had to use to try to deliver the training had to change. Your costing will have to change as well too. You had to be able to find a sweet spot where you don't want to be too exorbitantly high that you overprice yourself in that market. You don't want to put yourself too low that people just reject you and say like cheap stuff the person doing there. But you had to find that particular sweet spot that to be able to deliver training, and also partnering with persons as well too who may not have had the facility to do what you are doing, but they want that and they work with them towards that as well. Even that partnership has worked out pretty well.
Yeah, and it's amazing that I think number one of the biggest things is that if you had something happen before the pandemic, then you could have reframed it to something else. If you weren't doing anything, you have to start from ground zero.
Yeah.
Right? So even for those who are currently employed, working somewhere, you may think to yourself that, okay, I've gotten laid off, I've gotten a cut, whatever else. What I go do? You know, that's kind of some of the mindsets. But there are still things, think about, like I said, what would you have been doing on your job? For example, I have a friend of mine that was working a secretarial position before. Within the pandemic, she got laid off. What she switched to was then doing an online office. She will do letters, she will do whatever. She will literally do whatever was needed that a secretary would have handled before. She will now handle it for you.
Virtual assistant type of it.
Yeah, like a virtual assistant. And literally, it's literally just marketing the same skill she was using before into now a virtual format. So there are people who might say, well, I can't X, Y, Z, but there are ways you could use your skills that you would have learned on your job to create a new market.
Right.
right? In the UK right now, there's a fine dine, a Michelin restaurant, big restaurant, very fancy restaurant. He's currently doing
Yeah.
takeaway,
Yeah.
and he is right now one of the leaders in fine dining takeaway. Right, very nicely packaged boxes. It's oven heated food, so when you carry it home, you have all the garnishes in the box, everything fancy as you
Okay.
get in it. So you have your garnishes packed away. So when you open up the stuff, fine dining vibes when you put it together like if it was in your restaurant. Yeah, you can right? But the funny thing is, he had to in a, like what he termed it as was, someone see it as me downscaling. I saw it as me taking advantage of a brand new opportunity in a brand new market.
Mm-hmm.
And he
Carrying
said
fine
he's doing
domain.
fine dining
Yeah.
he's doing fine dining at home.
At home, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And it's currently one of the biggest craze in the UK right now. There's also a US company, two sisters. Right before the pandemic, their value for the company was around 50-something thousand.
Right.
Mhm.
They just signed a £250 million deal.
Wow.
Let me hear that number again.
£250 million.
Yes, and for
Yep.
those in Trinidad who trying to do that calculation, that is over 2 billion TT.
Correct.
Just
Here
saying.
what they do.
Just about.
They create what they did was they had a storefront before.
Mm.
They closed the storefront, put in kitchen cubicles, and allowed people that were doing cooking for delivery to rent stations to cook and deliver.
Wow. Okay. Right.
So
Yeah.
they, instead of having just their business alone operating in this space, they had like 12 stations at different companies. You had barbecue stuff, you had fine dining, Italian stuff, you had tandoori cooking, you had whatever, all in the same building.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Different spots cooking, and then they would have outsourced delivery drivers, meaning come and get hired as a delivery driver. You're not working for one company, you're working for whoever have food to deliver.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see,
They-
you see
they
me
were-
spas and rent out chairs. They just did it for kitchens, which is
And
genius.
the funny thing is, that's innovation.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
literally taking what they were
Take it-
doing, because
Take
they were
real
doing
outside the
it.
box there. Yeah.
And they was like, wait now, there are other people looking to do the same thing. How can I rework my concept to expand in the pandemic? It was a huge risk. They are currently, that investment that they got was for them to open up 60 more stations, 60
Yeah.
more buildings
Buildings.
around the UK and in the US.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
it may seem like mind-blowing, but it's simply,
Simple.
they didn't see pandemic as a reason to stop. They saw it as a reason to innovate and
Correct.
reframe what they
Pivot.
were doing
Mm-hmm.
and pivot. So
Yep.
that's my second point, that people need to understand that it's a time for us to reframe, to pivot, to innovate what we're currently doing and find new ways to present it, to repackage it, to enhance it and that kind of thing. Right? There's a third concept where in terms of innovation itself, taking advantage of what is needed within the pandemic, right? Taking advantage of the needs of the situation.
Right.
This current pandemic called for so many different things, like you just mentioned, the food industry, agricultural produce that is of high demand right now. Because shortly, like we were looking, my wife and I went to the grocery and walking around and realizing, wait now, stuff on all this no longer on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And we're like, okay, all right. You know, long you ever walk in the grocery and say, no long I see this?
Yeah.
Well, I haven't been to the grocery in a while. So
But it's becoming a point where like you're looking for something like, where this does normally buy and that does normally buy, and a lot of the gourmet stuff or the vegan stuff or the gluten free stuff is no longer really as prominent anymore, because those are things that are imported.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing more and more Chinese type brands, right? Meaning that those are that would normally sold in Asia that are now being sold here that wasn't being sold here before. And it's because it's what's available.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally just what's available, because most countries are now keeping their produce for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
there's a trend around the world now where agriculture and self-sufficiency is a boom.
Yep.
And it's something that people can take advantage of.
Yep.
Right? If you don't have space to plant, like Alice has said, become a delivery driver. Right? If you don't have a vehicle to become a delivery driver, I am positive they need an online presence. You can work with them on an online presence, taking calls, setting up this. They will need staff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised so far that nobody has created, and I'm going to put it out there as a possibility for anybody that want to take it. Nobody has created a online structure that that brings these different platforms that sell food services together. Meaning, there's an app where you can go and search whatever food you want. For example, to deliver fast food to your house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we could develop something that could help us to curate all the people that are offering these services together. So based on your location, you can pick, okay, this or that they offering this package, this one I'll choose from them. It's an idea. It doesn't require you to farm. It doesn't require you to work in the business with them. It requires you to then innovate and think a little bit outside the box.
Yeah.
Correct. Something as
well,
you touch on.
Anybody who come up with anybody who develop the idea, I want a little 10%.
Now, you mentioned that food thing there, right? But what is going along now? All right, listen. I'm gonna just rephrase. I'm gonna start over as one say. The thing with the products on the shelves, that is actually a two-part thing. The pandemic did kind of push it that way, in a sense, but we were actually having that problem a little before or
the US
on the rotate because of our foreign exchange issues, right?
Yeah.
What this does as well, though, it gives us the opportunity to manufacture stuff locally, right? Which is something that needs to be encouraged, right?
Yeah.
Instead of importing a cheaper type of product, we can make our own high-grade product locally. Whether it's flour, we could do, all types of flour we have, from sweet potato flour to this yam. I think I saw sometime. There are many different types of flour we could create locally here ourselves, right? There are different things that we can encourage manufacturing wise, all right? But as the world is also on this food security, doing stuff at home, that efficiency, you'll find what goes next to that is health and nutrition, right? Fitness. You will see a whole like a explosion of all these exercise mirrors that just came out, right?
Yeah.
Right. So people can't go to gyms, or people who don't want to go to the gym and risk catching the COVID or whatever. There are all these exercise equipment that came up, Peloton, from the bike to the treadmill, the mirror. There's so much different things. Next to that, because of food, there are people also doing the home packaging now. So you have the whole packaged healthy meals for those who do not enter the meal prepping, who don't believe they have time to cook, who's still not sure on what goes with what. All right. Yes, you can go on YouTube University and learn it. All right. Yes, you could hire Makaya to teach you about nutrition. Right. And you could also do one of those subscription boxes and get food delivered to your home, so you can stay on your health goals as well. So that's another thing that some people who doing the catering, yes, you can't sell food like how you're doing, if you're doing barbecue, whatever. But those who want to do healthy meals, package and deliver to folks, I am certain there are many people that will subscribe to that. Because I only know about one or two of people locally that really did that had any impact. But it's still a wide open space.
Yeah.
There's a big space for that here.
The funny thing is, Chris, the funny thing is that before COVID happened years ago, and I would have started doing some online training, and people were not very enthused about it. They were like, "That how that will work," and that's locally here. During that period of time as well, I had a business partner that was doing the fitness bags, right? And should have sold the bags. They could have packaged a lunch and these different kind of things.
I remember that.
And then there were people who were doing the actual foods and they could jump off your bag and get it full up and whatever. And it was a culture that it had a small boom and then it just declined because people weren't embracing it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But now,
Oh,
with the
yeah.
pandemic,
Yeah.
it's a whole change in mentality.
Correct.
Think about this, right? If there's a economic way or a way that people could provide some of these services at a lower cost, because a lot of people who provide these services locally here will charge a very high figure,
Mm-hmm.
right? Some of them are a bit exorbitant. But now in this pandemic, if you can offer meal prep at a reasonable price,
Right.
there's a big market for that right now because you have mothers who are working and have kids at home.
Yes.
And have to prepare meals for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You have families that are going through the stress of trying to manage a lot of different things in one space all at the same time.
Or to be very frank, there are some people who don't cook, who never used to cook in the first place during the pandemic.
Correct.
Right now, their
Exactly.
basic diet is cricks and cheese,
Yeah.
and what they call cooking is put it in the microwave.
Or
Correct.
just putting stuff together on the plate.
Yeah.
It's amazing that, I mean, right now, yes, we have restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
And when those restrictions are done, yes, people will run back to KFC. And
True.
run back to here and back to there. But it's still a space where there are people who can provide these services. Because, for example, I met a client recently that she works in the oil and gas industry.
Right.
And she was saying that before they would have got meals on work, right? And now they don't because they're home,
Mhm.
right? She said, but the funny thing is, the caterer would have reached out to the company to get confirmation that they could have gotten their contact information, and they would have then sent everybody,
Mm-hmm.
here's what, we still want to offer services to you guys, we're going to offer it as a reduced cost to staff as they're at home. And they're still doing meal delivery.
Mm.
And I was like, yo, that was a pretty good way of thinking about it because, I mean, yes, the company is no longer taking your packet, but there are still staff that can afford it and nobody would want to have it. So sometimes we kind of shut out certain opportunities because we think nobody going to take that, nobody, but there's a need right now for a lot of services that we're ignoring.
Yep. Agreed. Somebody reminded me that we could do cassava flour too,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
You know, so there's a lot of things that can be and should be encouraged. And what I dislike is that it took a pandemic to wake people up.
But it took a pandemic for you to pay certain bills online.
Well,
True.
Yeah, there's that. All right, yes, there is that.
So,
The digital transformation, the technology, the things that we have now got catapulted because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but it did take, this also happened for people to see that there was so much holes and gaps in the way that they were currently living and needed to adjust. Because we're talking about progress now, and if we look at how companies have been doing acquisitions, all right, on a real basic level, okay, we're not talking about you go and acquire a company or acquire real estate because you may not have those funds,
Mhm.
but you can acquire new skill sets. There
Yes.
are so many places that are giving from very affordable to free classes where you can learn new skills. So this is now another question of if you can afford, but what is stopping you from deciding to take one of these courses and acquiring new skills? Because you
Yeah.
can't have progress, if doing that same thing that no longer would apply because this is no longer normal times.
Right.
yeah.
No,
No, it's
right.
It's really interesting right now that a lot of people still aren't taking advantage of those opportunities.
I don't get it.
If you look at there are a couple of factors I would down to kind of hit on because of the fact that people aren't taking advantage of those opportunities. For example, a study in the US showed that they are currently showed that they are ahead technology-wise by 5 years because of the pandemic. Right? Where they are now, taking them 5 years to start getting to here. They did it in a year.
Correct.
Right? These were businesses that had to then fast forward their progress
Mm-hmm.
in order to keep up with what is demanded now. As individuals, we have the opportunity now to fast forward our individual progress
That's
within the
right.
pandemic
Mm-hmm.
to meet with the expectations that are going to be coming up after the pandemic. And that's what people are realizing. Huh? Post-pandemic, there's going to be a difference in a lot of the ways people do certain things.
Right.
How we see offices, how we see meetings, how we see the need for a full staff.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
People not realizing that part.
Mm-hmm.
Like people who work in IT security that no longer need to go into the office.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not going to see office again after COVID.
No.
Gonna be like, why you need to come for? Like, you don't need to come here. They might want to take away traveling allowances because hey, you need to come to the office anymore.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
will
Will
be.
be changes,
That will be.
right? Some companies will expect you to be more versed in technology because it's the
Yes.
new normal,
That's a prerequisite
Right.
now, yeah.
Yep.
right?
Which
So
means
why-
they will need trainers. Some companies will need trainers.
Exactly. So now is the opportunity for you to become versed in these things. Take the online courses, take advantage of the material online, become versed in them, become educated and certified in them. So when there's a need that is about to happen, you will be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly.
There are so many windows in the marketplace. I mean, it's amazing how many loopholes there are in the market and people are not seeing. And it's because we are so focused on the fear logic.
Yeah. People have fear of life and stuff like that right about now. When the whole talk of the whichever new strain it was, I think it's the India strain being supposedly in Venezuela. I mean, there were people here that instantly was tripping. And I'm like, listen, whether it's India, UK, Brazil, South Africa, it's still COVID, it's still here. You're still going to have to find a way to progress. You're going to adhere to all the restrictions, whether you take the vaccine or not, you still have to live.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Will you be prepared in that space is the question. That is literally what this whole conversation tonight has been about. Seeing that you are in a position to progress through the pandemic. All right, we don't
Yeah.
know how long everything will stay for. There have been pandemics in history that lasted 7 years,
Yep.
right? And this is during that time when people didn't have the technology, medicine, or anything that we have now, right?
That is the most amazing thing.
Mhm.
You know, and they came out on top. They did what they're supposed to do. Yes, a lot of people died, but their economy still were able to keep going because people adjusted during those times. And the same thing we have to do. Nothing different.
True.
Yeah.
And we have a whole lot of advantage over those periods. But
Exactly.
Yeah.
what a lot of people have, not the disadvantage, the obstacle for many people, as always, will be their mindset.
Very true. Very, very true.
Mm-hmm.
You
They
know,
give you a world of tools, but their mindset.
yeah, definitely. I was looking at a lot of different around the world, different countries that are under the impact of COVID but are progressing, and not just in large companies but in smaller companies, in small to medium, in regular people's lives and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And you began seeing things, methods of innovation that made you realize, wait now, we are definitely way ahead of where we were before. I mean, Trinidad is not a first world country where these impacts will happen immediately here. But if the rest of the world is 5 years ahead, that means we are probably 3 years ahead. You understand? So
Mhm.
where they are now, 5 years ahead, we are probably a couple of years behind that. So we do have innovations happening now. I mean, look at the banks. For example, the Public Bank now has payment methods and systems for small businesses to use to get paid online,
Correct.
where we can't normally use Stripe or PayPal or whatever. We get struggles with these things. They make it easier.
There's a reason why I
You
smile.
understand?
There's a reason why I'm smiling with that, because prior to the pandemic, there were a couple of businesses in Trinidad and Tobago who were taking advantage of the bank not doing that. Now the bank pushing it now because they realize they're losing. All the time they won't lose, they think they wasn't losing business before. Now the pandemic hit and realize what's going on here. You know, we could do that as well.
Jump in.
They now
Yeah.
jump in, Yeah, it's interesting.
Correct.
So, like, when I looked around the world, right? For example, in the US currently, there's a company that normally makes drones,
Mm.
right? Zipline is the name of the company.
The plan,
They
right?
are they are currently making drones now that do delivery of vaccines to hospitals, to medic
Mm.
centers,
Yep.
supplies for doctors and nurses, food for doctors and nurses when they can't come out of the quarantine areas. And I
Mm.
was like, whoa, that
Mm-hmm.
was no. In order for that to happen, the US had to pass certain laws
Laws.
that would allow drones
Laws.
to fly.
Yeah, certain
That
areas.
the medical facility said that that wasn't going to happen in the next 8 to 10 years.
Correct.
It's happening now. If that
Yep.
is happening now, the chance of it then happening locally here eventually is going to happen. Their children are going to come to Trinidad eventually. There are companies right now that are now in terms of like 3D printing and stuff. They are reworking how to do certain things and use 3D printers instead.
Yep.
Companies that would have previously made parts for cars switched to what they were making to make something else because there's more in demand.
Mm.
And you see people making changes to suit the pandemic, not just to say, well, we're gonna make money for people, but to say we need to survive. We need
Yeah.
to
Survive. Correct.
adjust, we need to adapt. And the average person could do the exact same thing.
Mm.
Literally, there's so many avenues right now to make money. I was compiling a list right now of ways that you can make money online without having a business, without investing any money, without different ways. Simple as, and I'm gonna give a really simple one that I have a way we're currently going to be testing. Um, the Fiverr, for example, right? Fiverr allows you to
Yep.
market services and different things. I was surprised when I realized that there are people who are paying on Fiverr higher sums of money, let's say $15 for coloring pages,
Yeah.
Hmm.
right? Because it's used for stress relief.
Yep.
So they're paying like $15 for a pack for like 5 pages. Then there's other companies online that are selling the same pages, a pack of 100 for $50.
All right.
So I was like, okay, if I do the math, say if I purchase at $50 for a pack of 100, and I sell at $15 for a pack of five,
Yeah.
that's profit.
Profit. Yeah.
And I mean, when I looked at it, I was like, okay, it seems so simple, but that's somebody who legit they get laid off, for example, you have some money left over, find a way online to just make some turnover in cash and keep building, keep building, keep building. It's just a matter of not looking at the restrictions that we're currently under, but looking at the opportunities
Correct.
and seeing the avenues to progress. I'm really happy that for all three of us, we could definitely say that we've in some ways taken advantage of the pandemic and
Yeah.
made those switches and progress. And I really wish that people who are online could look at themselves and see the exact same thing and look and see where they can make those changes.
Correct. Correct. A lot of cleaning companies pivoted too,
Yeah.
with offices closed or temporarily closed. They switched to doing the electrostatic cleaning for COVID
Yeah.
itself. So they'll come and so if you need your place cleaned like that, because they were never doing that before. All right.
Mm-hmm.
That's a service. They come to vacuum your floor, they send whoever the wipe cubicles, and that's it.
Yeah,
But
that
now
is
they're
it.
actually doing the actual electrostatic spraying and getting that clean and stuff like that. So a lot of even cleaning companies saw where they could actually pivot. There are people that are doing separate from seminars, those who do online tutoring. All right.
Yeah.
If you're strong point, whatever subject that you're strong in,
Mm-hmm.
all right, you can offer online tutoring. Right?
Yep.
We talk about the VA services. We talk about people like that who do arts and craft. I saw a lot of ladies started doing these paper butterfly decorations. I was kind of like, who buying that? What? What's that?
You'll be surprised.
Okay, people like paper butterflies and paper flowers, and so you don't look down on any little hobby or thing that you can do, any skill that you can do with your hands, and think that
Yeah.
who may want that. You never know. I have I know someone that started doing, back in the day, people used to make covers for the gas tank.
Yeah,
She was
yeah.
selling
Yeah.
gas tank covers. I was like, what? People
You
still
still
buy.
doing that?
People were buying gas tank covers. I was like, what? But people will find a way, right? And,
Yep.
and we may be laughing at it, and it's so simple, right? It's
That's the
just
thing.
it's
Mhm.
just a matter of getting out of your own way, all right, and seeing what you can do and trying it. If
Correct.
it works, great. If it doesn't work, you
Say
find the
what?
next one that fine.
Yeah.
That's all.
Exactly.
All right. If it didn't fail, you just found a way that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's all.
if you would have tried something new and it probably doesn't hit, you would have still learned a new skill.
You learn a
Mm.
new skill. Correct.
You
Correct.
understand? So that is still progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
as you're talking there's one particular case that just happened really recently. A young fella, he just loved to do the advertising on Facebook and thing. His grandfather does actually make, I don't know if anybody know them old school tops that is do with the maling and all this kind of stuff like that. Them long
Yeah,
time vintage
yeah.
tops.
Mm-hmm.
He making that and he did a video of him spinning that, and that just started to sell. And that just started to sell. Not only for people who just want to try it out themselves, but persons who want to collect those things, because some people don't have the skills in making it, but like to hold on to that,
Yeah.
remind me of the old days, whatever the case may be. Big men buying that. People who in the 50s, 60s actually buying that.
Let me go and price some yo-yo and
Yeah.
sell some yo-yos.
So, you might take it crazy, but yeah, but
Yo-yos might sell too.
yeah, but again, as you rightfully say, it's really making that pivot and that adjustment to progress, and don't leave it up to just big businesses and just be 100% consumers. We are not made to just be consuming all or everything right through. We are built to innovate, and we are built to be able to invest in ourselves, and invest in ourselves we can never lose. And I think in this time more than ever, we need to invest in ourselves and really market ourselves really well, to really not just to survive the period that we're in, but to be able to thrive.
You know what's
Definitely.
funny? Like this conversation is prime example of progress through COVID.
Hmm.
Right? Before COVID, we'd have done our live seminars. We had
Yes.
planned out for those live seminars,
Pick venue and all this stuff
and
like that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then COVID happened, and we had to make a choice. It could have either been that we said, you know what, COVID earlier, let me just lock down and wait,
Yeah. Yeah.
or we
Yeah.
could have seen what can we take advantage of in this time. How can we innovate and create something? And this is funny, and exactly what we spoke about tonight. We did for Mantle, and now it's a conversation with everybody that we have people that habitually every Tuesday they're on, and
Correct.
it's the numbers are great. People are coming in, so it's a matter of us doing the exact same thing that we say we advise you guys to do.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And there's people that took even advantage of those that um want to socialize, but we can't right now. I'm seeing a lot of virtual game nights popping up,
Yeah,
virtual dating popping up. And I mean, at first, I was like, why would I pay to do a Zoom call to play games with people? I have friends, yo, I got free. But, but there are people that need that well, not energy. They need that extra social factor.
yeah,
Being able to meet people, being able to socialize, to network, and if it's being able, if all we can do right now is virtual,
Mhm.
then why not? Because it is working.
yeah.
There are people doing it. There are people literally attending date nights, like single nights, and I'm
Mhm.
like, all right, we can do you can do speed dating right home.
Yep.
Exactly.
A lot of people who's single and wish they could have met someone right now can't because everybody's home. Well,
Hmm.
hey, there you go. So you can actually create that if you want as well. There are many avenues. I mean, I'm not saying
And
take advantage of
and
people.
Chris,
All right.
like what you're saying, Chris, is that like, and that's twofold. It can benefit those that are disconnected, but then for those who want to create a business forum, they can be the one that create the game night, create set up the stuff for people to come to. Like it have
Yeah.
so much different things that we could do in this pandemic time that I legit right now, honestly, like looking at looking at things online has had me thinking like, okay, am I progressing as fast as I should be progressing within this pandemic, or am I still tapping on the brakes a little bit?
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at innovation in the US and in the UK especially, and even in Africa, and I'm like, yo, these people and them
opportunities. Yeah, they're finding it.
And we have to realize that as even though we're living in Trinidad, internet has made the world so much smaller.
Correct.
That your market is no longer just Trinidad.
Correct.
True.
Yeah. Correct. Well, my market was never just Trinidad to begin with. But the people need to catch up. It don't make sense. It don't make sense. But all right. I mean, the conversation was great tonight. I hope what we shared and what we discussed, gave you some ideas at least. And of course, if you want somewhere to discuss the idea, feel free to drop us a message. Let's discuss it. Also, as always, I say if there's anything that you want us to discuss, please leave us a message or put it in the comment section. We'll see how we can address that and make sure that you have the information you need to progress through the pandemic. Any closing remarks, gents? Go through.
I'm not sure if you all saw it, but Ms. June Smith-Simon, I'm not sure if there's a challenge or there's a statement, but she commented about a post-COVID top competition.
Post-COVID.
I'd like for you to elaborate on that one, boy.
Challenge accepted. Challenge accepted. Whether it's after COVID, whether it's online.
A top competition.
Let me go. Somebody share this video with the guy that created that making them tops. Let me get some tops and then we have a competition.
Yeah. Let me have that happen, boy. For real.
Yeah.
I'm afraid.
Alright.
But I can't afraid because Miss June says I might know a little trick or two that I might know now, boy.
Hey. Don't underestimate.
Look
Like of the L1, flick it up or something.
You understand? What you call them? We call them we call that anime again with the top
Beyblade?
Beyblade toy. And Bakamon and things. Yeah. Don't worry. I see you. Feel you're smart.
Don't worry, we'll jump out. We'll think about it,
Yeah.
Strategize first. I need to practice.
Yeah. Guys,
Alright.
thank you very much for connecting on to the conversation, folks. Again, any other closing remarks, guys, before we?
Just progress.
Progress, and we need you around to progress. So as always, folks, please adhere to the COVID restrictions. Ensure to practice social distancing. Make sure you wash your hands and wear your mask. All right. Right now, you should be limiting going outside. Period. All right. Go outside if unnecessary, please, people. All right. So just be sure to join us again here next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. All right. It's been a great night.
Don't forget, and always don't forget, guys. Again, we on Facebook Live, but we also on YouTube. So if you're on our page, go ahead and share that link as well for persons so they know we're on YouTube. Subscribe to YouTube because we know you have persons who are not on Facebook. No problem, we are on YouTube as well. So you can go ahead and share that link with them. Alright? So guys, as I say, please keep safe and see you all on the next one.
Alright.
Take care.
Good night.